Hello all loonies and normals, my name is Joe Silver, welcome to my channel. This week we're going to talk about, can video games ever be educational? In other words, are they just something to waste time, or can you actually ever learn something from them? See, I've been playing as Crusader Kings 2 recently, and a lot of that is based around the medieval period. But interestingly enough, there is a historical element to it. A lot of some of what goes on is what actually went on, what were real things that went on, some of that. So my question is, do you think that video games could ever be educational, or are they literally just there to waste your time and entertain? And I'd have to say my answer, I think, is yes, they can be educational at times. I mean, no, they're not always. Some of the video games they bring out these days, they don't educate you in anything, they literally just waste your time. But I think to some degree, if you get the right video games, they can actually be educational. You can learn things from them. I know that when video games were early in their development, that was some of the kind that they made was ones for schools where they were teaching kids to read and write and so on. Well, read anyway, but and so on, and teaching, and you've got ones where you can teach people to type and so on. But I think it's more than that, because like I said, certain video games have elements of them where they're talking about events that actually happened in history. For example, when I played Age of Empires, I played as William Wallace, and I learned some of the history of William Wallace. I mean, I never bothered to check up to see how close to reality it was, but I'm going to assume that it was pretty close, because, you know, nothing in there seemed like it was a bit off or a bit wrong. So, you know, so I learned a bit about William Wallace, and there were other leaders I learned about in Age of Empires, for example. Now again, I mean, that wasn't the purpose of the game, it was just a bit of fun and you did what you did. But my point is that video games serve a multitude of purposes, and as surprising as it sounds, education can be one of them. Like I said, some of the video games they bring out these days are not educational. PUBG, Fortnite, Overwatch. They don't educate you in anything. They're just to waste time, and they're not the kind of game I would play anyway. But that's a whole different vlog for a whole different day that I've probably already done. So we won't go into that. But think about this, right? Think about this. If you're playing video games, how focused are you on the game, right? So if it's teaching you things, if it's giving you education, how focused are you on what it's telling you? How focused do you get on these games, right? So you actually take notice of this. Now think about if you're in a classroom, unless you're a studious person, when the teacher starts talking, you switch off. Unless you're studious. I mean, you shouldn't, and you know, I'm not saying that that's what you need to do. Quite rightly, you shouldn't, because these things, some of the things they teach you in school are actually important. But let's be honest, I know I did. When I was in school, when the teacher started talking, I switched off. Not consciously, but subconsciously I did. Because it was a lot of hard information to take in, and quite frankly, the way it was done when I was in school was, you're going to sit down, you're going to learn, and you're going to become a useful member of society. What actually happened? I didn't learn very much. I learned how to read and write and count the change in my pocket, but I didn't learn very much else. I went through history in school, I don't remember any of it. So what happened? I didn't sit down, I didn't learn, and I didn't become a so-called useful member of society. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm completely useless and I'm not being all depressive like that. No. What I'm saying is that their idea of schooling didn't work. But, like I said, I have learned things from AOE, I've learned things from other sources since I left school, you know? But yeah, surprisingly enough, video games were part of that learning process. And this is what I'm trying to say. Funnily enough, as strange as it sounds, video games can have a positive effect. You know, they can teach you things. And that's because, to some degree, some games have elements of facts in them that you wouldn't know about otherwise. I mean, to be honest with you, that's how I learned most of the stuff that I know, was movies, TV shows, video games. That's where I got some of the stuff from. Now, not everything in movies, TVs and video games is accurate to history or accurate to the facts that they're trying to display. I mean, you do have to be careful and you do have to double check these things, right? Some of the things it says are they're just not right. And you can believe them all you want, but they're not. But then these things are meant to entertain. So some things they're saying just to be silly, or just to be funny, or just to entertain. So yes, but the point is, some of the things that they say, some of the things that you come across, are true. That those things really happened, and that's in itself is quite interesting, isn't it? And that's what I say. Like I said, I learned of William Wallace that they tried to claim that he was a traitor to the English crown, but his reply was, "I never swore fealty to an English king, therefore I cannot be a traitor." I learned that from AOE. Now, like I said, I did fact check it to make certain how accurate that is. But if that is right, and it doesn't, I can't see why it wouldn't be, then that's something that I've learned of history. And I learnt it from a video game, not from a history teacher. Now again, like I said, I'm not saying you don't need to go to school, and that you do. The things are important. But what I'm saying is that for me, I struggled with learning. I struggled with studying things. And being told to sit down and listen, it just doesn't work with me. I try to concentrate, but then at some point my mind just switches off and I can't. But if I'm active doing something, like in a video game, now you've got my attention. You see? So, to sum it all up, and I'm not sure how long I've been talking, but it doesn't matter. To sum it all up, yes, video games can be educational, but not all video games are educational. It depends on the video game. And quite frankly, you can have real fun with them. However, enough of my drivelling on. I'd like to hear what you think. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. If you like what you've seen here, leave me a sub or a comment or a like as well, telling me what, and if you think that there's something you'd like to see me talk about next week, feel free to do so and tell me that in the comments, because as I said, I struggle to think of something to talk about every week. I'd probably say that every week as well, but anyway, thank you so much for watching and for the support that you have given me. This has been a vlog. I have been Joe Silver.